Welcome everyone to today's live stream, episode 2 of our Baldur's Gate 3 Druid gameplay series. I'm Commander Jorval, and I want to thank you for coming along on our journey today. So, starting out on an admin note, it is once again the horror of all horrors, daylight savings time here in the United States. We entered into it this morning, and for the next couple of weeks, anyway, for most of my European viewers, we are now going to be UTC -5 instead of UTC -6. So, the good news is that you get to start a little bit earlier in your evening and don't have to stay up as late to watch the stream. But it is also a new time, so be sure to mark this down. This is the current time that we're going to be doing. 2 p.m. Sundays Central Daylight Time here in the United States. So, here in a couple of weeks, most of you European viewers will catch up with me, and we'll be back to 6-hour time difference. But for those of you who don't change to Daylight Savings Time, just be prepared that we're now at 5 hours time difference for UTC instead of 6. So, on another admin note, I do want to say, for those of you that saw my post on the community tab of the YouTube channel last week, we have experienced some difficulties here at the house. We did have a major flood here, which flooded 3 different rooms in the house, and during that time, you have to bring in a water mitigation company, things have to get dried out, and it takes about a week for that to happen. So during that time, you have fans and dehumidifiers running 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And I stayed here through that entire time with 85 decibels worth of fans constantly running in the background while you're going about your everyday life, as well as when you're trying to sleep at night. So it hasn't been a fun week. But now everything's gone, and hopefully we can get back to a little more sense of normalcy, even though the house is still completely demolished. So, should be able to work the streams around the upcoming construction that's going to be happening for the build back, but if we have any issues, just pay attention to the community tab, and I'll put up any posts that may adjust the stream times or dates or anything like that based upon that. So, bear with me. Again, I apologize, but nothing can be done about it. It can't be helped. So, with that, we will move into our recap. So, being our first episode of the live stream, we worked our way through the prologue. And at the end of the prologue, we used a cheese to extend the fight and kill everybody during that fight. We killed the Mind Flayer, we killed Captain Zalk, we killed the 2 Cambion that came through, as well as all the other normal encounters in the bridge of the Nodloid. And we ended up on the beach. Now, as part of that big fight, Lae'zel died. And when I say died, I mean completely died. He is now dead. And we stripped her of her gear at the end of the last episode, just because, honestly, I've never had a character die during the prologue, so I didn't know what was going to happen. We are going to find out about that today, and it's going to be slightly different from a gathering your party members standpoint than you're probably normally used to. So, it's going to be a very interesting start to the episode today. Trust me when I say that. You probably haven't seen this recruitment method during any of your walkthroughs and guides online, but we'll see how it goes. So, I think with that, we are going to just continue on. Now, one thing to note is that the date today is today, because I did actually play through that fight again, just in case Lae'zel dying impacted the playthrough in a severely major way. But I noticed that when I was going through it today, that No, it just adds a rather unique flavor to recruiting some party members. So that's why I saved over our previous save, just to bring it back to the current game to click continue on. It's the same save, I just literally loaded it, saved over it just so it would pop up at the top of the list. So let's just go ahead and get started here, and we will jump back into it. Okay, so here we are, on the Ravaged beach, right where you start at the beginning of Act 1, after the cutscene at the end of the prologue. You remember, like I say, we are heavily encumbered because we did strip Lae'zel of all of her items. We also picked up all of the items from the Cambions and everything like that while we're here, so we've got an overflowing inventory here, and strength was one of our dump stats, so we don't have a high strength here, so our carrying capacity ultimately reflects that. So but we will be able to rectify that here fairly quickly. We're just going to be walking a little slowly as we start off today. So starting off, and if you've watched the other playthroughs, you'll see me exploring quite a bit throughout the Act 1 prologue here, and you start out just by walking around and holding Alt. You can see that we are limited to a slow walking speed.
Never wanted these.
Nothing showing up on Alt. Doesn't look like we have anything in the way of camp supplies to pick up or anything like that, and there's nowhere else for us to go out here. So we will continue and work our way this way, and you can see that we do have a dead body here that we're going to encounter right off the bat. So we can search the mangled fissure. Take some gold, a bottle, and some camp supplies that we will automatically send to our camp. Always send your camp supplies directly to camp. You don't need them in your inventory. They're just taking up extra weight. Now, you can see we do have Shadowheart down here on the ground, and this is Shadowheart's normal location for where she appears after the prologue. However, you can also see that we have a dead body over here, and this is Lae'zel. And remember, we stripped her of her gear at the end of the prologue, so that's why she's sitting there in her underwear. So we're going to go over here and click on the loot icon for Lae'zel and slowly walk our way over here, and then we'll come back and deal with Shadowheart. Okay, so we've got some sorting options here. So we're now going to give Lae'zel back her items, and we're also going to give her the Everburn blade at the same time. So the reason for that is that she's going to end up getting that stuff back, and right now what that does, if you look at our inventory, now we're just regularly encumbered, and we can actually give her some other things to carry as well. So, we don't need the different mines. So we're now going to send those to camp. We can go through some of our other stuff here and send any of these other camp supplies off as well, and that gets us down below our level. Okay, so now we're no longer encumbered, and we can go speak with Shadowheart.
Very well.
You're alive. I'm alive. How is this possible? I remember the ship. I remember falling. Then nothing. First things first. We need supplies, shelter, and most of all, a healer. We might have escaped, but we still have these little monsters in our heads. No, I don't recognize this place. But anything's an improvement on where we just came from. We need each other, and we both know what's at stake. I can't think of better company. One thing, just before we go. I wanted to thank you again for freeing me. It would have been all too easy for you to run right past my pod, but you didn't. I'll remember that. Lead the way.
Okay, so now Shadowheart is a member of our party. And bringing up the inventory screen, you see that we can level up, but we also are granted scrolls of Revivify. And these are what you use to resurrect dead companions. Okay, now we have 2 of them on our Druid, and we have 2 of them on Shadowheart. So we do have a dead companion over here. So let's go ahead and use one of those to revive Lae'zel. Now there's another way to do this. We could go play through the temple and unlock Withers, and then go to camp and have Withers raise Lae'zel there. That would mean that you're going through a large fight underground without Lae'zel in your party, which you can certainly do. But we've got more than enough scrolls of Revivify on our party right now, so we might as well go ahead and do this. And this is, like I say, an interesting way to recruit your companions, because Lae'zel is not normally here. She is normally quite a bit north of us right now, in a cage, hung up by a couple of tieflings. Because she died at the end of the prologue, she's now here, so we have a completely different way of bringing her in as a companion because of her death. So the only thing is, we did strip her of her equipment. There's no way to get her to re-equip those items right now, while she's dead, obviously. So we're going to have to deal with an entire conversation with Lae'zel in her underwear here. But it is what it is. So we will choose to resurrect Lae'zel, and we will choose a destination, and we'll just put her over here. Okay, and now she's here, we can talk to her.
I live. Vakith blesses me once more. Our paths cross again, Istik. I might call it fate, if I believed in it. Neither the Geich nor the crash have broken your spirit. Yes, you may still be of considerable use. The longer the parasite lives, the more of us it consumes. Together, we must find a crash. My people possess the cure for this infection.
Careful. She obviously sees your kindness as weakness. Don't let her take advantage.
Come, our search begins. We've no time to waste. It is many things. A hatchery, a training grounds, a shelter. Githyanki protocol is clear. When infected with a Geich tadpole, we must report to Augustil for purification. You have made an ally from Kresh Kalir. Few know such fortune. Call me Lae'zel.
I'll trust your judgment, but I won't trust her. Not until I've gotten the measure of her.
We scout the roads and scan the skies for children of Gith. They will lead us to a Kresh. There, we will be purified.
Okay. So, like I say, an interesting way to recruit Lae'zel to your party here. We can give her back her equipment, and we can let her equip the Everburn Blade. Like we've explained many times before on previous playthroughs, this is the best two-handed heavy weapon in early access, and you get it right during the prologue if you can manage to kill Captain Zulk. So whether you are the main fighter damage dealer or whether you have Lae'zel along in your party as part of it, one way or another, having somebody equip the Everburn Blade is going to be a huge benefit to you as you go through this. So make sure that I'm going to be keeping Lae'zel in our party, so she's the one that's going to get it here to start off with, and there's no real expectation that anything else is going to change with that. So looking through our inventory, we still do have a couple of camp supplies that we can send off. And now we have a lot of additional carry weight here that we can have Lae'zel just fill up, so it can release us from having to carry that stuff around. So okay, so now everybody has a ranged attack available to them. Going to be some items that we can sell. We do have a couple of supply packs that we can send to camp. Get rid of all of that weight. You don't need to carry it around. So now we're going to split the healing potions in half, and we're going to bring half of them to Lae'zel as well. And we have another hand axe that we can transfer over to her. And I think that's about it for now. Okay, so before we level up, let's look at our armor class situation. Because Shadowheart's currently wearing a shield, that's why she gets a +2 to her armor class. Her base armor class is going to be 15 with the chain shirt that she is wearing. Lae'zel is wearing Githyanki Halfplate, which is tied for the best medium armor class in the game at 15. The other item that ties with the Githyanki Halfplate is Scale Mail +1. Now, we don't have access to Scale Mail +1 yet, but we do have Scale Mail that we picked up during the encounter on the Nautiloid. So right now we are wearing Druid leather armor that is light armor that gives us an armor class of 11. Scale Mail is 14. Now, a couple of things about this. So first, looking at her proficiency, she's proficient with both light and medium armor, so she can wear it without any penalties. So that's the first thing to verify. But the second thing is that Scale Mail has metal in it. And this is kind of where the lore of tabletop Dungeons and Dragons differs from the lore of Baldur's Gate 3. In tabletop, druids despise all things metal. They don't want to be around metal. They want to be around natural sources, wood, leathers, that sort of stuff. So you wouldn't be able to wear Scale Mail in tabletop. Here, there's nothing that prevents you from wearing it. So we're going to get a rather large bonus here, an armor class boost, by changing over to the Scale Mail. So you can see that we're currently at 13. Now if we change this over, we're now up to 16. We're getting 14 from armor, and we're getting 2 from our dexterity bonus. Okay. Now, again, it changes our look because we don't have the druid leather armor anymore. And for those of you who want to continue on a role-playing aspect, You know, you might want to stick with something like this that's truer to both the lore of tabletop and a druid in general. But here, a 16 armor class starting out right off the bat is really good. It's something that you want to strive for, you know, beginning your playthrough. So that's how we're going to leave things here. Is starting off this way. So, okay, so now before we go anywhere else, let's talk about our party makeup of what we're going to be using through this playthrough. I touched on it very briefly in our last episode, and that I'm not going to be keeping Shadowheart in the party. I'm going to be playing the role of a limited cleric throughout the playthrough, and that means I'm going to leave Shadowheart back at camp in favor of bringing a damage dealer who's going to be Lae'zel. I'm also going to bring a magic user, which is going to be Gale. We used Will during our last playthrough, so we'll use Gale on this playthrough. And we're going to be bringing Astarion. We're going to be bringing Astarion because we don't have anybody else who has proficiencies in picking locks and opening or finding traps. And so during the Ranger playthrough, my Ranger served that role, so we did not have Astarion in the party, but we're going to keep him in our party for this playthrough. So, as it is right now, we can go ahead and level everybody up, but as soon as we get Will as soon as we fill out the rest of the party with Will and Astarion, we're going to send Shadowheart back to camp. But for now, she can travel with us. So let's go ahead and take care of some level ups, because we do have enough experience to be able to do that after killing everybody on the Nautiloid. So starting with our druid, the main thing to realize about the jump from level 1 to level 2 is your subclass. And there are 2 subclasses here to deal with. Circle of the Land and Circle of the Moon. The main difference between them in that, well, first of all, the similarities, they both get the wild shape ability. So these 5 wild shapes are common to both Circle of the Land and Circle of the Moon druids. So there's no difference with the 5 base wild shapes. However, you can see that in Circle of the Land, you have just wild shape. That's just the action that you get. Where in Circle of the Moon, you get combat wild shape. And basically what that means is that you have an additional wild shape that you can now change into, and that's the bear. The polar bear has some rather large hit point pools to deal with, 30 points, whereas at level 2 you can see we're only going to be 17. They also have some really high damage dealing from their melee attacks. So if you want to spend a lot of time in wild shape, then Circle of the Moon is the way to go about doing that. You also get an additional bonus action that you can use a spell slot with to regain hit points while you're in your wild shape form. So it's basically like casting a heal on yourself, utilizing, but when you're in wild shape, you can't cast spells. So this allows you to cast healing on yourself and maintain that wild shape longer as you go. So this is really, Circle of the Moon is really based around your wild shape, and you end up with 5 prepared spells based upon our wisdom score. If you change to Circle of the Land, you can see you get natural recovery, which is basically you can use this action and a natural recovery charge to get back used spell slots when you're not in combat. You cannot use this when you're in combat, but you can use it to get back expended spell slots without having to take a long rest, is basically what that does. So you also get a new cantrip here, and you get this, 5 prepared spells. So the bonuses here is really this natural recovery action and getting your 3rd cantrip, as opposed to just getting 5 prepared spells and getting the bonuses to Wild Shape. Now, I'm going to play this as Circle of the Moon this time. I really want to, if you're playing a Druid playthrough here for the live stream, I want to focus on the abilities of the Druid, which is really the Wild Shape. Circle of the Land has a lot of the same abilities with Wild Shape, but Natural Recovery, you also have something very similar with a Cleric. With cantrips, the same type of thing. So this is more like a Cleric build, whereas Circle of the Moon is really a pure Druid build. So I'm going to focus on showcasing that for you on this playthrough. So let's go look at our spells here and see what we want to do. So these are the same prepared spells that we had last time. There's really nothing else that we want to change. Nothing else is given to us here. We do not have access to level 2 spells yet. So there's nothing that we really want to change out here on these spells. And if we want to prepare new ones, we can do that anytime because we're a wisdom-based spellcaster. So we can do that like any cleric would. We don't have to rest to change our spells. So we're going to leave our prepared spells exactly the same. And we're going to accept and move on. So with Shadowheart, we can also do the same thing. So we'll level her up. Now, we don't get to make choices for subclasses and that sort of stuff with Shadowheart. They're all, just like every one of the other NPC characters in our party, she was chosen to have the Trickery domain subclass. So we're going to be able to get some additional things, but we're not allowed to do anything with it. So the Channel Divinity charges gives you Turn Undead, or also Invoke Duplicity, and you can use that once per short or long rest to be able to cast that. And Turn Undead is the cleric's bread and butter that you'll see throughout the playthrough. And we're going to get into an area. Well, I don't know if we'll recruit Gale before we go in there or not. But we'll continue on, like I say, with her as this here. But you get Invoke Duplicity, which is basically kind of very similar to Blur. It creates an illusion that distracts enemies from you. Her prepared spells here, however, we're going to customize. So Bless is very, very useful. We've seen that before in our previous playthrough. Guiding Bolt is her bread and butter ranged damage spell. Healing Word is again ranged healing, which is always very useful. Create or Destroy Water is very useful. We don't really need it right now, though, and we're going to be gathering a staff later on that is going to take the place of that. So when she's no longer in our party, we're not going to need to carry the spell around with us at any time. So, and then last is Bane. Bane is always beneficial, giving negatives to attack rolls and saving throws for anybody else. So her spells are pretty good here. We're just going to remove Create or Destroy Water, and we have a choice now of what we want to do here. Shield of Faith and Protection from Good and Evil are both concentration spells, in addition to Bless. So those aren't really going to help us very much if we want to keep Bless active. Then Command is also a concentration spell. So I think we've got Healing Word, we're just going to take Cure Wounds as well. Kind of doubling up on the healing right now, but very similar to what the Druid is using, just without Bane and Bless currently on there. So we'll go ahead and accept that as well. And now we can move to Lae'zel and level her up. So going from level 1 to level 2, not a whole lot of gains here, except for Action Surge, which makes up for the lack of other gains by being so important in and of itself. This gives you an extra action once per short rest, which is, it allows you to attack twice before level 5 where you gain an extra attack. Once you've gained an extra attack, it allows you to do 3. It's just so important for the fighter class to get is Action Surge. So very important, even though there's not a long list of other benefits that go along with it. A nice hit point pool and Action Surge more than make up for it with her level up. So we'll go ahead and level her up, and you can see that she's still short her hit points here. So we could use potions of healing, but it's not really that important. We're just going to take a short rest, and that's going to get her up to be within 1 point of her max. So okay, so that kind of brings everybody up to date on the party. So we can now continue exploring around here. Oh, and first, I guess, to go over the Druids. Hey, Chad. Thanks for joining the live stream. Yeah, it was a very interesting start to this episode with Lae'zel being dead from the end of the last one. They've been able to recruit her right off the bat here. So it was a very interesting start, and now we're going to get to kind of see the Druid abilities play out a little bit as we go through this. So to kind of explore that a little bit more, looking at the toolbar here, you can see that we have wild shape charges. And this is just like any other set of charges, like Berserk or Frenzy for the Barbarians, Channel Divinity, and that sort of stuff. There has to be a limit inside the game to balance things out on how often you can change into your wild shape. And they do that with these wild shape charges. So you can see that we have 2 charges, and they recharge after every short rest. So that's basically, per long rest, you get 6 times that you can change into wild shape. So if you don't have a wild shape charge, then you cannot change into wild shape. So this will be grayed out, and you're not going to be able to change into any of your wild shapes. Okay. You see all of our standard spells and cantrips here. Remember, we chose Thorn Whip and Shillelagh as our cantrips to start with. And then you see Wild Shape down here. And if you click on Wild Shape, it brings up the ability to change to any of the wild shapes here. And you can see that we have our various our different variants here. Yes, and there's our Wild Shape Bear that we got for choosing our Circle of the Moon subclass. So, but we're not going to change into Wild Shape yet. We don't have any real need to. We are going to continue exploring throughout all of this, and holding Alt and kind of moving our cursor around and looking as we go, and we can start doing our exploration and our searching here. So any camp supplies, again, like I said, send them directly to camp. Don't keep them in your inventory. There's no need for you to have them taking up carry weight, because some of them can have a lot of carry weight impact, especially when you're using strength as a dump stat like we are here.
They'd have been no match for a Gale Devourer.
Okay, so nothing else around here. We have some buckets of fish up here. More camp supplies. And there's a tutorial. I'll give you the tutorial. You don't have to read about it. but it explains basically what camp supplies are used for. And then we have a couple of different things down here. So you have a book that you can interact with.
Fresh water.
If there's a red bookmark down here, that means that there's another page that you can go through. Nothing special about this book. It's just a standard book. If you right click on it, you can pick it up. If you look at your inventory, it's worth a bit of gold. So if you'd like, that fish went to wares. So we will send it to camp instead. So books are a source of gold, basically, throughout the playthrough. So if you want to maximize how much gold you have, just pick up every book that you can, because for the carry weight, it's 14 gold per pound, which isn't a great gold per carry weight number, but it's better than nothing. So we can open up the backpack here, and we've got gold, we've got some more camp supplies, and some water, which again, we're not going to use. The water you can throw as an item to put out fires and that sort of stuff. But again, we don't have any need for that right now. And then continuing on out here, there's nothing else that you can get to out here. If you click out there, you're not allowed to move that way. So we can make our way back. And we have another mangled fisher here. And we've got a perfumed letter. So we can read this. And it's basically a love letter from someone named Anna to Sai. And it says that they're trying to meet at Baldur's Gate. Now this is one of those things where in early access it doesn't mean anything because we can't get to Baldur's Gate. But in the full playthrough, maybe having this letter on your person or in your inventory, maybe you can meet Anna, and this perfumed letter would serve as proof that you found her friend who is now dead. So for now, carrying the perfumed letter doesn't do anything for us, but in the full playthrough, it might. So don't skip things like that might lead to possibly her thanking you for giving her information about him, and maybe a reward and that sort of stuff later on in early access. For now, it doesn't do anything, but that doesn't mean in the future that it won't. So keep that stuff in mind when you're playing through your playthrough, and don't just limit yourself to what you get in early access. Remember that sort of stuff for the full version of the game when it comes out in August. So you saw that we did pick up a trap disarm kit as well as lockpicks, and we're just going to save those for Astarion later on. So we can search the dead fisher here. Some more gold, another bottle we don't need, and some more camp supplies. And then you can see we have some belladonna up here that we can pick up. And we discovered a waypoint here. Now, if you don't know how waypoints work, we'll explain them here in a little bit. So, search this barrel, and we've got a lyre. Now, this is our first bard instrument that you're going to find in early access. We don't have any need for it, because we don't have any... We're not playing the bard class, and in early access you can't recruit any bards to your party. But it is worth the same as a book from a gold to carry weight perspective. So if you want to sell it, feel free. So get over here, we've got another mangled fisher. Well, we have another Intellect Devourer. There's never anything on the corpses of the Intellect Devourers. And now we're up here. We do have some dagger root that we'll pick up as well. And some belladonna over here. Okay. Now making our way up here, we have an ancient door. Now we could try and pick it right now because we do have a lockpick, but you're not going to succeed. The ancient door is a high DC. To access it, this is where you're supposed to come out of the overgrown ruins after you've completed it. So going in this way, picking the door's got a really high DC. I believe it's a full 20 DC. And there's no way I'm going to make that without rolling a natural 20 because there's no modifier. Well, I guess I got that +2 modifier to dex, so I'd have to roll an 18, 19, or natural 20, and the chances are really, really low. So I'm not going to worry about this ancient door now, and we can talk about the rune circles. Now you can see I have the interact icon. You can click on the rune circle, and it's going to bring up the map and let you travel to any of the waypoints that you have unlocked. However, you don't need to click on an ancient rune circle to be able to fast travel. If you just click on M, it brings up your map, and if I click on Overgrown Ruins, it's going to teleport me to that waypoint. It's important to remember that, so that if you get stuck anywhere, or you can't get out of a location that you've jumped to, and now you can't jump back because your strength isn't high enough or something like that, you're not trapped. You can just hit M to bring up the map, and you can just click on any waypoint and it will fast travel you there. You do not have to click on a waypoint to travel somewhere. Getting near it just unlocks them so that they appear in this list and you can fast travel to more locations. Okay, it's a very important mechanic that not a lot of people think about during the playthroughs, just because of the fact that there's an interact icon here with the rune circles. But you do not need to do that. Okay. So now, looking at our map, you can see that we landed here and we came up this way. We didn't go here. We came around this way and got up to basically the start of the Overgrown Ruins. And now we have a couple of different ways that we can proceed here from this point. So the first is heading up this way here. Okay. So heading up here, you can see that we do have a couple of Intellect Devourers. If you look at our mini-map, they are not immediately hostile. Or we could backtrack, make our way around here, and come up this way to some more bodies. But basically, it gets you right back here to this same spot. Okay. So in this case, it doesn't really matter which way we go. So, and to get, after you've moved your camera around, if you just double click on a character portrait, it snaps your camera back to them. Okay, so we're going to move our way up here. And again, we're going to move slow.
More of those wretched things.
As we do. Move in short bursts and not long runs. Because while you're moving, you may miss certain things, or you may miss skill checks. The person in front fails it, and if you run everybody by it, then everybody might fail it. The person in front fails a perception check, then you can have a chance to stop, maybe cast a spell like guidance or something like that to increase the chances of somebody behind you detecting it and being able to find what was hidden. So tend to move in all the Baldur's Gate games in short movements and not just clicking way up here. Okay. So here we have another commoner with some gold on the body. And we have another one here with nothing. Now, at this point, you can see we have flames around here that are on the surface. We can continue back this way, which leads us back down where we were, and we have a couple more bodies that we can search. Or some more gold. Some more gold and some camp supplies. Holding Alt, you can see that there's nothing else that we can see down here. Doesn't appear to be any other camp supplies growing anywhere, and we already searched this barrel when we were down here. Okay, so we're going to make our way back up here, and again, now that we've come this way, we can take longer movements. But here, again, I'm going to take my time, and I'm going to hide the group here. The reason I'm going to do that is because now as we inch our way closer, you can see the Intellect Devourers moved up here, and they are now immediately hostile. Okay, so we don't want to just enter this area and get immediately detected. We want to be careful about how we do this. and set up this encounter to maximize our chances of success. Okay, so you can see that we can move our way up here, and you can see the detection cones are shifting as the intellect devourers move around. Okay, they go on patrol, and as they go on patrol, they move around, and you can see the detection cones. So you want to be careful of where you move, and it's at this point where I'm going to toggle the group so that I can move everybody individually instead of at once. Okay, and we are going to start this off with some wild shape melee combat, because I know that's what everyone wants to see. There's a better way of going about doing this, but I'm going to start it off with a ranged attack from up here to get myself into combat, and then I'm going to immediately move back toward an area where I can get more into melee combat using wild shape. So the goal also here is going to be to keep Lae'zel and Shadowheart out of combat as long as we can. And we will just initiate with my druid. Now I'm going to move up here, and I'm going to watch the detection cones, and you see I'm getting really close to the point where the detection cone overlaps me. And you can see that's because here is the other intellect devourer that is patrolling around. Got one here that's static, one here that's static, and this one patrols around. So now it's facing up here. So the detection cone's not anywhere near us. And as it comes down from there, the detection cone again does not get anywhere near us. It's only when it comes back this way that the detection cone goes up here. So what we're going to do is take advantage of that. So when it moves back up here and that detection cone passes us, we're going to move right up here to the edge, and we're going to initiate a ranged attack.
Breathe deep and move.
Okay? And we're going to do that just with this intellect devourer here. Okay? Now that caused damage, and all of them were surprised. We didn't roll very well. We rolled third in initiative. So the surprise here still has a turn left on them, but they're going to immediately become not surprised after their turns end at the beginning of next turn. So we have a chance here to kind of get some additional damage in. And Thorn Whip is kind of interesting in this sort of case, because if you look at our ranged attack, you can see that, you know, we've got high ground, we've got a 95% chance to hit, and we are above this area. So you can see that getting down there, the only way to get down there is to move all the way down, but we are much more than 3 meters away from it. So if we Thorn Whip it, it's, again, Thorn Whip is a cantrip, so it's going to take our action, but it's not going to take a spell slot to do it. And it will pull it 3 meters closer to you if it's within 9 meters of it. So you can see that we can, and you can see what's going to happen is it's going to pull it closer to you here. Now in this case, it's not really that much of a benefit, because where it's going to land, we're not going to get any bonuses from that. We're not going to pull it into a fire surface or anything like that over here. But that's what Thorn Whip does. Thorn Whip is much better when other things are on high ground and you can pull them off of high ground down to your level and let them take fall damage. Or if you can pull them into a damaging surface or something like that. Okay? So we're not going to utilize Thorn Whip here. We also have Entangle, which is going to use a spell slot. But we also have, remember when we talked about surfaces, this Intellect Devourer here is standing in a mysterious liquid surface. And it says that this fluid reacts to any heat that comes near it. Now, we have an alchemist fire flask, which we can throw all the way out there. It's then going to ignite this surface. It's probably going to ignite the Nautiloid tank as well. And it's going to cause damage to this Intellect Devourer out here. So I think that's how we're going to start off this combat. We could also use our Scroll of Firebolt to light this on fire, but there's a whole bunch of Alchemist Fire Flasks throughout the game. So we're going to start this off by throwing this one out here. Okay. The explosion killed the Intellect Devourer here and the Intellect Devourer up here. It was within range of that explosion. So basically 2 for 1. That did use our action, but we still have our bonus action. And as part of our bonus action, what's going to happen is the Intellect Devourer can't jump up here, so it's going to try and make its way around this way. Well, I don't think it can jump up here. But either way, we want to use one of our wild shapes. So we're going to wild shape, and we're going to go into, the one that everyone wants to see, and that's the bear. Hey, Ryanmar, thanks for joining the stream. So there is a tutorial here about it, but just to explain what it is, now that I'm in wild shape, this button down here will dismiss my wild shape. I'm going to stay as a bear until one of two things happen. Either I dismiss my wild shape, or I lose all of my hit points. Now, if I lose all of my hit points, I immediately revert back to my normal druid form, but I don't take any hit point damage as the druid. That's what makes wild shape the druid's bread and butter type of thing, is that as long as they have charges to be able to change into a wild shape, they can use those wild shapes basically as additional hit point pools to absorb damage. So with a 30 hit point pool here for the polar bear, that's almost double what my normal hit point pool is. Now, the limitations to that are obviously fairly straightforward. First, you can see that my spell casting abilities are gone. Bears can't cast spells. So I don't have any spell casting abilities available to me here while I'm in wild shape. However, I do have all the other characteristics of the bear, which means I can roar, which is going to goad enemies into attacking me and drawing them away from others. I have movement, which is now 11 meters, which is the characteristic of the bear. So if whatever wild shape you turn into is going to take on the movement characteristics of that creature as well. And again, I still have Lunar Mend because of my subclass choice, which gets me the ability to regain hit points at the cost of a spell slot, which right now I've still got 3 of them. So I have basically 3 Lunar Mends if I just want to keep myself in wild shape for as long as I can. Now, the normal melee attack for the bear is 6 to 12 damage. It's 2d4 plus 4, and that plus 4 comes from the fact that my strength is now 19 because of the bear. The strength, the dexterity, and the constitution all take on the characteristics of the animal you're shape-shifting into. So if you shape-shift into a bunny rabbit, we don't have that available to us here, but in tabletop, if you did, your strength is going to be very, very low. Your constitution is going to be very, very low, but your dexterity might be high. Okay? So those characteristics come from the wild shape that you've morphed into. Now, the others here, intelligence, wisdom, and charisma, are not affected by your shapeshifting. So those are all left the same, but you're not utilizing any of those in wild shape anyway. Okay, so that's why they are how they are. So now I've used my bonus action, but I still have all my movement left. So I'm just going to move down here and kind of get myself in a location where I can get into melee with the last remaining Intellect Devourer. And I'm going to end my turn. Okay, so it's dashing and it's moving down here toward me. And you can see that Lae'zel got into the detection cone for the Intellect Devourer overlapped Lae'zel. Lae'zel failed her saving throw, so she's now in combat. However, Shadowheart passed hers. But hopefully it's not going to matter, because I'm going to move right down here as my bear, and I'm going to give a 95% chance to hit with my melee attack. And remember, our melee attack is 6 to 12. So if we hit with only 6 hit points left, we're going to kill it. And there you go. Okay. So, in a nutshell, that is what the Druid is all about. Okay, now we're going to bring everybody out of hiding and we're going to group everybody back up. Okay, so the other things to keep in mind while you're in wild shape. So as you're moving around, you have all of the characteristics of it. So our jump is now taking on the characteristics of the really high strength that the bear has. So I can jump to much higher ground because of that higher strength score. So keep that in mind, that all of your abilities or your movement abilities are based around the shape that you're in. So that can be very important as you're as you're moving. So we can move around here, and there's a chest up here. The bear climbs up here, and we can search the chest, and there's a basic poison. Now, we're going to be, you can see that it gives you a red icon. It says, must be wielding a weapon that can be coated. Right now, I'm not wielding a weapon. My claws are not a weapon that can be coated with poison. That would be amazing if it could be a polar bear with poison claws. No, nothing gets better than that. But we are going to send that to Lae'zel to get some additional damage if she needs it on her Everburn blade. And we can continue searching. There's a potion of speed and a caustic bulb. We'll pick all those things up. And we can move ourselves back down here. Okay, if we hold Alt, you can see that we can search the Intellect Devourer. Like I said earlier, they never have anything on the corpses. We have a nobleman here. We can pick up a dagger. That is true, Raimar. His claws are the lethal weapon for him. So we can pick up a rapier also. A silver locket that we'll just hold for now, and some more camp supplies. Okay. Continuing on, another Intellect Devourer. We're not going to search it because we know that they don't have anything in their inventory. And if we do a quick search up here, you can see that there's nothing else up here on top. So there's no need for us to go back up top to continue exploring. So now looking at our map, we have two ways out of here. We have a way here and a way up here. We're going to head down and out this way first. And again, we're going to move in short movements here as we go. Another dead Intellect Devourer. And again, just to show you, you're never going to find anything on their corpses. And continue looking around. No camp supplies or anything like that doesn't appear. So we'll continue moving down here toward the shore. Holding Alt, looking around. Nothing else down here. And we can
Inside.
take a look at the crates. Another thieves' tools for Astarion later. Some more camp supplies. And we have a locked wooden trunk. Again, we're going to save that for once Astarion's in the party. And we can see that we have some belladonna over here we can pick up. Some myrgrass that we can pick up. And we do have a clamshell down here. Again, you want to sell everything you possibly can. Pick it up. It's certainly got a good gold to weight ratio of 60 to 1. But such a small amount, I'm not too worried about it. So now we can make our way up here. Okay, and looking down this way, and you can see on our map that something popped up. And there's Astarion up here. Now, I'm going to be playing this and exploring this just like you are as we go through this. So I'm going to try something. I'm going to not pick up Astarion yet. There is some more camp supplies down here. Because I want to try something. Going to move down here. I'm going to jump down here. Okay, and I'm going to, again, toggle the group here. And see what happens with my perception check here when I'm in wild shape. Okay, so just because I failed it doesn't necessarily mean anything. However, I do have nature proficiency in my oh, I don't, because it's based on my intelligence. It's not based on my wisdom. That's right. I forgot about that. So probably wasn't a surprise that I failed it. So I'm going to go up here with Shadowheart, who has the highest wisdom here, since it's a nature check. And remember, we do have guidance as a cantrip here. So I'm going to cast that and then move up here for the nature check.
Deep grooves in the mud around that rock.
Okay, so she found the scuffed rock here. Now, I don't know... Yeah, see, she doesn't have the strength to move it. So now this is going to be interesting.
Let's move. Another step forward.
Can I get the move icon here as the bear? You can. So I can utilize the really high strength of the bear to pick up an object and move it. Wasn't entirely sure I could do interactions like that in wild shape, but you can. So utilize that additional strength that you have in your, in your polar bear shape to help you move around and jump around to other locations you might not be able to get to, as well as interact with high strength checks that you need to make. So now we have the ornate chest, and it's got gold, ruby, and an agate. There's a Harper's map and some more potions of speed. We're going to split these, and we're going to send one to Lae'zel, and the other one we're just going to hold on to. Because, again, Shadowheart, we're not going to keep her in the party after a bit. We can read the Harper's map. So it says that it's a map with some harp marks, a little harp marks, an area called Moonrise Towers. And there's a small crescent in a nearby forest, and below the crescent is a scroll that says cache. So it kind of tells you that the Harpers are in an area called the Moonrise Towers, but it also opened up a hidden cache somewhere. And if you look at your map, we now have a hidden cache that's marked on our map. Okay? So once you've opened up the hidden cache, you don't have to take the Harper's map, but it's, again, one of those things worth the gold to weight ratio. Now, if we read the Harper's notebook, it just mentions that the Harpers were taking mention of some local Selûnite sect was having some issues with their behavior. But nothing to really, go any further off of right now. So we can group everybody back up, and we can head back up where we were. Okay. And for this, I am going to dismiss my wild shape. Now remember, you can get your wild shape back with a short rest, so I still have an additional short rest left. I'm going to dismiss my wild shape so I can go into an interaction with Astarion. Now it's interesting, it would be kind of interesting to see what the interaction is like when you're a bear, but again, since I'm doing a playthrough where I'm not loading and reloading and that sort of stuff, I don't want this interaction to be strange or anything like that. But it would be rather interesting to have this interaction as a bear and see what it is. So when your playthrough's happening, you might save here and play this interaction as a bear and see what happens. But since I'm not doing that type of thing in this playthrough, I'm going to dismiss my wild shape. And head back as my normal druid self. And we're just going to go unlock some portions of the map here. There's nothing up here to see. It just opens up portions of the map. And that's just me being a completionist. But at the same time, if you've watched the other playthroughs, you realize how important it is to be able to look at your map and find hidden areas or areas like that may have items in them, such as dirt mounds, that you have to get a perception check to notice, that you don't want to miss. So exploring the entire map is always a good thing. Okay? Now we can head back down this way into the Nautiloid, and we're going to, but first we're going to recruit Astarion into our party.
I have something to ask.
Hurry, I've got one of those brain things cornered. There, in the grass. You can kill it, can't you? Like you killed the others? There. Can you see it?
Okay, so I failed the perception check.
Shh. Not a sound. Not if you want to keep that darling neck of yours. And you, keep your distance. No need for this to get messy.
No messes? How dull. I'd much rather be dripping with this pretty boy's blood.
You flirt, but I have other business. Now, I saw you on the ship, didn't I? Nod?
Okay, so we have some options here. And we could do a melee attack to headbutt him and get out of this. And we have a +2 from our weapon proficiency to add to that. But I'm just going to play this out a different way.
Splendid. And now you're going to tell me exactly what you and those tentacled freaks did to me. Don't lie to me.
Your mind twists. You're looking out of unfamiliar eyes, prowling dark, busy streets. You try to hold the memory, but it fades to the worm, the light, the fear.
What was that? What's going on?
Okay, so now we have some additional options here to be able to end this. So from these, you can see I'm not getting any bonuses for persuasion and strength, but I am getting a +2 from dexterity. So I can also add guidance from Shadowheart. So we're going to add that in and make our first roll of the Act 1 here and see how it goes. Nice.
I saw into your mind. They took you. Just the same as me. And to think, I was ready to decorate the ground with your innards. Apologies. A kindred spirit. My name's Astarion. I was in Baldur's Gate when those beasts snatched me. My, you've been busy. So, did you learn anything about these worms while wandering the ship? Turn us into... Of course it'll turn me into a monster. What else did I expect? Although, it hasn't happened yet. If we can find an expert, someone that can control these things, there might still be time. You know, I was ready to go this alone, but maybe sticking with the herd isn't such a bad idea. And anyone that can crash a Mind Flayer ship and walk away seems like a good person to know. All right. I accept. Lead on.
Okay, so we now have a 4th party member here. And we'll go through leveling up Astarion here real quick. But you also know that during the cutscenes and that sort of stuff, I like to let them play out so anybody who hasn't seen them before can see them. So, Reinmar, I wasn't ignoring your question. I was just letting the cutscene play out. What's up with my house? Very quickly, it's a long, horrible story, but while I was at work last week, the upstairs, depending on where you're from, either water closet or toilet, cracked and started leaking water all over the upstairs while I was at work, and it leaked all day until I came home that evening and found it, and by that time the first floor was flooded. So the kitchen and the dining room, parts of the living room were completely flooded. So that's why I wasn't able to stream last week, because all the fans drying it all out. So kind of taking a while to work through all that. The house is still a mess, under construction right now. But like I say, long story. So
what now?
So let's go ahead and level up Astarion here. Going from level 1 to level 2 for a rogue, and yeah, it does sound expensive, Reinmar, but that's thankfully what homeowners insurance is for. So I am going to have to pay some out of pocket, but hopefully they'll take care of most of it. So going from level 1 to level 2 as a rogue, you do get your hit point boost, but you also pick up 2 very, very important class features that make a rogue, and that's your cunning actions. That's dash and disengage. These are now bonus actions for a rogue instead of an action. So that's very, very important, because you can utilize, if you're right next to somebody and you want to get away, you can use disengage as a bonus action, and then you can move away and still have your action left to be able to do something else, like trying to hide, or like trying to, make a regular attack from farther away. As a rogue, these 2 become your bread and butter for moving around the battlefield and getting yourself into positions for sneak attacks. And you will see me utilize those quite a bit with Astarion throughout the playthrough. But that's it. that happens. For your martial classes, it's normally, small things, but they're very, very important. So now looking at the inventories, just to clean some of these out, we're going to get rid of the camp supplies, and now we do have the thieves' tools and the trap disarm kit that we picked up. We're going to be keeping Astarion in our party, so we're going to give him one of the speed potions, and we want to leave the grease bottles over here. Okay. So now everybody that I'm keeping in my party should have some potions of healing and a potion of speed. And now just to finish cleaning up the inventory here, now that we've got it open, we can get rid of some of these camp supplies here. Okay. And yes, that should be it. Oh. We also need to look at what we have for weapons here for Astarion. Now, remember, they can offhand attack. They can make 2 attacks here with melee weapons. As long as both of them are light and finesse weapons, you can dual wield them to start off with, without having any of the dual wielding perks that go along with the level up process. So we're just going to give him another dagger to wield in his offhand. Looking at our other stuff, we don't have anything else that's both light and finesse. We have the rapier, which is a finesse weapon, but it's not light, so you can't dual wield with it. He also comes with a short bow, so now everybody still has a ranged attack. Everybody's maximized their melee abilities for now, so that's about as good as we can do for outfitting our characters. So now we're going to go ahead and move back into this area, which we bypassed, and kind of move back here. Now again, we could move around this area, but again, we're going to go walk a different path here. We can open up parts of the map, and you can see that in here we have a mind flayer on the ground right here that's dying, and we're going to get to that encounter here in a little bit. But for now, we'll make our way in here. Again, taking short movements, holding Alt, and kind of opening up the rest of the map and looking around as we go. You can see that we have a dead mind flayer up here that we can search.
Traps, please.
Okay, and then continuing on this way would be down the way that we came, where we had to fight with the Intellect Devourers. Okay, so now we can make our way up here this way, or we can make our way into this area here. Now, making our way up here, you can see there's a rune circle up here. And I'm going to complete our party here. So what that means is... Wow, okay. Sorry for those of you who can't see it. The game halted here and gave me a complete failure of the game. So let me... That's unfortunate. So stick with me here, I'll bring it back up. The only problem is that we probably don't have a lot of saves. Because I'm horrible about saving. Don't know what happened. It just completely faulted the game out, gave me an error there, and continued on. So... let's kind of see where we are. Yep, it looks like we don't have any other saves. So, what we're going to do is very, very quickly make our way back through all of this. We're going to skip all the conversations as much as we can. And yeah, this is my fault. I'm horrible about saving. And this kind of, especially for a live stream, I should be saving quite a bit more often so that we can avoid these things. So this is my fault. I apologize for this. What I'll do is I will skip all the looting. I will just recruit everybody back into the party. Skip all the dialogue options that go along with it, and get us back to that location. So we will just skip all of these.
You're alive. I remember the ship.
There is a quick save,
I
and
remember
I'm just
falling.
horrible about
Might have
utilizing it.
escaped, but we still have- we
It's
need each
basically
other. And we
what it
both
comes down to.
want- It would have been lead the
So
What's inside?
yeah, I just need to do better at that when it comes to. That's what it is. Yes. So again, hopefully this will serve as a reminder that I need to do it more often. And maybe if you guys see me not saving for a while, then maybe you can remind me about it as well. So let's quickly just get our equipping done here, and we will get us back as quickly as we can. To where we were. So alright, give me just a second to clear some of this stuff out. This should get rid of most of my encumbrance. And
Now step forward.
now we can just continue on. All the things that we picked up and searched around over here, again, I'm not going to bother with. We will do our level ups real quick. Circle of the Moon, the prepared spells are going to stay.
Whips and blades, always sharp.
Okay, the prepared spells here, we just removed Create Water, and we added in Cure Wounds. And for Lae'zel, just a level up, and we took a short rest to get most of our points back.
I've got a long road ahead.
Okay,
Swift as my
so
feet can
now
carry
we're
me.
going to make our way up here, and the Intellect Devourers are here.
More of those wretched things.
So we have to go this way. We don't have a choice. Or else I would skip this fight. But for now, we don't have a choice but to quickly do it. So I will make my way through this combat as
On my feet.
quickly as I can, utilizing the same things we did last time. So we will just quickly move everybody up here. We'll split our group. We'll move up here. We will move up here now that they've just passed. And we're going to initiate this attack now.
Better stay back.
Okay, so we rolled fairly well on our initiative that time. We're going to throw the Alchemist Flask here. That kills both of them. We are, again, going to Wild Shape, just like we did last time. Just so that we get all the way back to the same amount of abilities and movement and all that sort of stuff that we were at last time, and we'll end our turn. Okay, we're going to move ourselves down here, and we're actually going to get ourselves within range here. It's going to dash, so it can't attack anyway. Okay, that moved Lae'zel into combat. I don't care about her.
Stand in my way.
Now I can get a claw attack here. And that ends that. So Shadowheart can come out of hiding,
Shouldn't have
and
wasted
I
any
can
more
group everybody
interesting
back up.
times.
And again, what I'll do is I will come back and search all of these things off stream. So I will get our inventories back exactly where they were before next live stream. And what I'm going to do is move my way up here, and before we get to... And again, it'll be the same thing with all of this. I'm not going to search this yet. I dismiss my wild shape. And we will quickly go through Astarion's dialogue.
Hello? Over here! Hurry. I've... There. In the grass. You... There.
Okay, again, failed my perception check again, so that's good. Same as last time.
Now. And now you're going to tell me exactly what you and don't...
Your mind. You try to.
Okay, so again, the dexterity. We'll add in guidance. And we passed again.
I saw it. And to think... I was... my name's So... Did you... Although... It has... You know... And... All right.
Okay. So we can quickly
I could get used
level
to
up
this.
Astarion because there's nothing really to his level up. We just wait for the accept button here, and
Never a dull moment.
now we should be back where we were.
I'm ready. Looking ahead.
So now we will save. Sorry about that, everybody. Again, I apologize. It's just my
What path lies
lack
before
of
me?
saving. But actually, while we're here, we will do something different. We have the boar over here. I do have another wild shape charge, and I do have another short rest. So we do have... When you are in wild shape, we can now
Away! Away!
you have speak with animals when you're in wild shape. So that's why you don't need to take the speak with animals spell as a druid, because as long as you are in wild shape, you have speak with animals inherently. Even though I'm a bear, there's no bear language versus boar language in the game. In Baldur's Gate, there is not. However, in tabletop, it's different. But here, you can see I have speak with animals. So we can now talk to him and get an interaction here.
You're all the same. Too many of my kind died because of your spears, but not me.
Okay, so he ran off. I don't know if he's still up here or not. Doesn't look like he is. Okay, but speak with animals gives you a lot of interactions in the early access to help you learn about the game, your environment, things that are hidden from you, and can be found, and that sort of stuff. So what we're going to do here is we're going to dismiss our wild shape again. Okay, and we're going to take that short rest and get our wild shapes back. And now, I think what I said I was going to do last time is come up this way and fill out our party. So let's move up this way.
Footprints.
And
There may be even more that survived the crash.
while we're here, we're going to open up our inventory and just make sure that there's nothing on Shadowheart that we want to keep. Because again, Shadowheart is not going to be part of our party going forward. So we're going to do some quick inventory management here. And that should be good. So the mysterious artifact is bound. So can't remove it that way anyway. But now we're going to talk to Shadowheart. And we're going to remove her
Something
from the
matter?
party.
If you're sure. As you like. Perhaps I'll see you at camp.
That frees up a spot in our company here.
You're alive. That's unexpected. Last I saw you, you were lying in a crucible's worth of blood. An intellect devourer nibbling at your ear. Glad to see my eyes deceive me. I'm Gale. Well met. The very same. A traumatizing experience, if an instructive one. Yes. The ocular penetration by an illithid tadpole, which will end with our souls being snuffed like strands of weave caught in dead magic. Not to mention, you're staring at me like a Rashimi at a blackboard. You're no wizard, are you? Pity. But that'll have to wait. The primary need now is a healer. I take it you recall the insertion of the parasite? Are you aware that after a period of excruciating gestation, it'll turn us into mind flayers? A process known as ceremorphosis? It is to be avoided. I assume you're no accomplished healer either. Powerful cleric, maybe? I gathered as much. We'll have to look for a solution elsewhere. You and I are in a whole lot of trouble. We need help, and I'm not sure where we'll find it in this wilderness. How about we embark on the quest for a healer together? Most excellent. Then, without further ado, let's be off. I see you've even a Githyanki among your ranks. I say we're off to a promising start.
Okay, so we can go through Gale's level up here. Now, I've talked about Gale before, so not going to go into the subclass choice very much here. Evocation is basically your damage dealing type of wizard, and Abjuration is more of your crowd control and buffing type of wizard. The thing that's important about Evocation is this subclass ability Sculpt Spells. It basically allows when you cast an AoE Evocation spell, if you cast it and any of your party members are inside of the area of effect, they automatically succeed their saving throws and they take no damage from them. That can be very important nowadays, especially because we have access to the Fireball spell, which is an area of effect. So now if someone like Lae'zel is up front in the middle of a fight, I can cast Fireball on all the enemies that are next to her. They will all take damage from it, but she will not, because of the Sculpt Spells feature of the Evocation subclass. Okay, now it only works with Evocation spells, but that can be very, very important. So I always play Gale as an Evocation wizard, and that's how I'm going to play him again here. So let's look at the two spells that we have that we want to select that are available to us here. So Magic Missile was the first. Always take it. Period. End of story. No discussion. The reason for it is that it levels up really well. It does force damage, which almost nothing in the game saves against, and it's a guaranteed hit. Also, each of the 3 darts, it goes up to 4 and then up to 5, just not in early access. But the number of magic missiles goes up as you level up, and each one is an individual projectile, which means that if you have bonuses, like adding cold damage, or lightning damage, or poison damage, it applies to each projectile. When you get a level 2 magic missile with 4, or with 5 at a level 3 version of it, it can deal a lot of damage. So immediately take magic missile, don't have any other discussion about it. Now, as for the rest of these, I've been through a lot of them. I'm going to start with Chromatic Orb. Ray of Sickness is great. However, I'm going to be utilizing something else to give me a Ray of Sickness later on in the game, so I'm not going to take it as a spell now. So I'm going to focus on Chromatic Orb instead. Those are going to be the 2 spells I'll take, and now preparing my spells. Okay, Magic Missile is a definite take. Chromatic Orb is another definite take. Now, we learned how valuable Thunder Wave was as part of the prologue. However, I don't want Gale to be that close. I normally keep him in the back, and my Druid has Thunder Wave, so I'm going to let them be the more up close in front fighter version of this, and not going to take Thunder Wave on Gale. Sleep is very powerful as an AoE spell with a 6-meter radius, so definitely going to take that. Now for the others, it's kind of 6 of one, half dozen the other. Grease is a great crowd control spell. However, there are also bottles of grease that I can throw using Astarion, so I'm going to skip that. I am going to take Witch Bolt as a concentration spell. All these others are non-concentration spells, so this would give me something to concentrate on. And then Mage Armor's always good, however, there are other ways I can get that. But it is probably a good spell to take considering the others I'm going to have. So, I'm thinking if I want to take it or not. I think I am going to take Mage Armor this playthrough. Okay. And that's going to finish up Gale here. And I'm going to walk myself right out here. And I'm going to quick save. And go into our inventories. So again, get rid of the supply pack here. And we can move some scrolls over to Gale that he will be better off using. The Detect Thought scroll can stay here. The Scroll of False Life can also stay here for now. Now, he doesn't have any ranged attacks. He's going to be utilizing his spells for that for now. Oh, I forgot to take the light crossbow off of Shadowheart. That was going to be his, but I don't have that option now. So, but that about finishes everything out here, I think. Okay. And again, I don't have any of the potions of speed or anything like that yet because I haven't looted any of them at this point yet. So now I'm going to make my way back into here, and we can continue our normal looting process here. Hey, Assassin, yes, I am back today. Thanks for the welcome, I appreciate it. Okay, so now we get here and we have 2 places to go. We can move our way up here. We just have to jump across this fire surface to get up here. But there is a very important encounter in here that we want to deal with. Okay. Now, again, remembering now that we no longer have a cleric in our party, remember that our highest wisdom is now with our druid, our highest strength is with our fighter, our highest dex is Astarion, and our higher intelligence is Gale. So you want to be going into each of these encounters based around the checks that you're going to have. And this is interesting because normally there are people around this Mind Flayer. And you have a chance to have an interaction with them. But they are not here.
I have something to ask.
You approach the dying monster. This is the
Interesting.
thing that abducted you. You could end its life here and now, if only you didn't feel compassion. Compassion. You can't move, can't think. Thinking is mercifully done for you. It will be a joy to serve, to die for it an honor. It's possessing your mind, forcing you to love it, but then the feeling slips. The creature's mind seems to focus elsewhere.
Okay, so this is an intelligence check here, and not a wisdom check. So it would be better to be doing this or with Gale instead of myself. Or you can just take advantage of the lapse and break free here. And since I have the option, well, do I want to actually roll and go through this? Why not? Why not? So, total bonuses are 0. We have a DC of 10, so it's a 50-50 shot. And we passed. That's not the only check we're going to have to make, though.
Your minds fuse, lusting for something that is gone. But then its grip claws back with a vengeance, a vice locking your mind into obedience. It needs sustenance to survive, and with your very body, you can provide.
Okay, so now I have a wisdom check to be able to resist it. And now I'm going to get a +3 from my wisdom to be able to deal with this check here. The DC is 5. I'm getting a +3 from wisdom, so they want you to pass this. But there's still a chance if I roll a 2 or if I roll a natural 1, I can still fail this. That's the only way I can fail it, but let's see. Okay, so I rolled a 4. With my wisdom, I'm still good.
The monster lies exhausted, defeated. Its eyes, wet orange pearls, radiate malice.
Well, I didn't kill it with fire, but I did kill it,
Death
Reinmar.
is too good for it.
Okay, so now you can search it, and we do have a potion of speed in here, and a spiked bulb. Now, looking around this area, again, make sure that you look around your high spots, right, as you go, so you could make it to here, jump up here, and get on this high ground, but doesn't appear to be anything up there. But that's the type of things that you want to be focused on and aware of when you're playing through these games. And again, the Baldur's Gate games have all been very similar in that respect. This is just another continuation of how they've all worked. You need to be paying attention to your surroundings as you go through this. So as I said, we could make our way up here and jump across this, We're not going to, though. We're going to go down another way. And so we only searched 2 of these bodies. I don't think we searched all 3. We didn't. Okay. Holding Alt, nothing else down here. Okay, so we're going to make our way down this way. And again, making our way off the beaten path a little bit. Holding Alt as we go. Making sure that there's nothing hidden around. Okay. Again, just opening up portions of the map as we go. We do have some more camp supplies here. Okay, and now we get to the main part of the Shattered Temple here. You can see that we can see at least one of the party members that's up here. And this is the encounter that we're going to go through. But first, and this may come back to bite me here, because I didn't search for all of the thieves' tools. So I've only got 1, I believe. I'm only carrying 1 thieves' tools. Yes, I am. So I probably want to go pick up those additional thieves' tools. So I apologize. The DC on this is really high, the way that we're going to go in. So I want to make sure I have more than 1 thieves tool, because if I fail the roll, I would have to come back and do this anyway, and it's just more wasted time coming back and doing it later. So I'm going to run down here real quick. Pick up these thieves tools for Astarion. And while we're here, I guess we can have Astarion lockpick this. And this is why you want Astarion in the party. He's got a total bonus of +7. The DC on this is only 5, so he can fail it with a natural 1. And that's it. And we will send that helmet to... I thought I sent it to Lae'zel. Okay. And now we can head back up where we were. And again, we'll skip all this other stuff that you've already seen me do. I just needed to grab that just in case we fail this check here. Because it's a pretty harsh check, the way that we're going to go into the Shattered Temple. Do they have bones, or are they completely octopus-like? Oh, you mean the mind flayers? They do have skeletons, yes. They have a skeletal structure. They are just very fleshy around the outside of that. So, hence the squishing sound that it made when we stomped on it and killed it. Okay. So, the Shattered Sanctum here. We already talked about the door down here. This is where you're meant to leave, not where you're meant to enter. But there are basically 4 ways to get into this temple here. And I'm going to bring everybody up here, and I'm going to hide everybody. And I'm going to move up to here. You can see the detection cones on the ground. You can see we have a couple down here that are visible. We have a patrolling wizard here. And you can't see, but there's a rogue up here on top that you can't see. Now the 4 ways in, you can see there's a door down here. That's the normal way in. If you get through the encounter out here, you can then go through this door. There's somebody behind the door. You have to pass a persuasion check to get in. But that's the normal way in. You also see these two standing here. There's also a foundation block up here and some cracked stone down below them. You can shoot the foundation block. It will drop down. It will create a big hole here. And Taman will actually fall in and be out of combat then. He falls into the temple, and you will encounter him later inside the temple, and he will have taken some fall damage, but it won't kill him, but he will still be alive. He just won't be in the fight out here. The other way is the way that we're going to go in, but we are going to clear the outside first when we do this. So as part of this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to split the group here, and I'm going to take most of the rest of the group
Ready for anything.
and I'm going to move them up here. Okay. Now to do that, Lae'zel has the strength to be able to jump up here. Okay. So she can get up here without a problem. The other two, Astarion and Gale, I do not think that they do. But it's been a while since I checked, and this is patch 9. So let's just see if anything has changed. See if they have the strength to be able to jump up here. Yeah. Astarion does not. And we're going to assume that Gale doesn't either.
Let's have some fun.
So we will move these two down here. We will group them up. We don't have to hide them. And we can take them around this way. This basically gets you up here to the same spot, so we're going to hide them both. We can bring Lae'zel back here. Put her in the group. And now we're going to kind of move everybody kind of... Yeah, this is a good enough location, I think. We'll just keep them there. And I'm going to initiate this combat here by dropping this block. Okay, so what's important about this is to kind of maneuver your camera so you can see where you're going to have to move to be able to shoot it. So you can see she's going to have to move up a little bit, but not all that much. Okay. And I'm going to wait for the magic user to move back up there to the top. Okay, so she's moving up there, and now I'll initiate the ranged attack here.
What do I have to lose?
Okay, so it actually killed them both that time. Interesting.
Just out of view.
Nope, don't want to go that way. I got really lucky there. I've never had that happen.
Look at that.
She's coming this way. Okay, so that entered into combat. Okay. So now, I can move back up here with my other group. And now both of them are facing towards me, so their detection cones are nowhere near me. Which is exactly what you want to have happen as part of this encounter. So I'm going to come down here, I'm going to toggle the group here. And I'm going to approach with Lae'zel first and see how well we can do against Warren here. Okay, so we'll take the Everburn Blade. And actually, we're just going to move up right behind him over here. And now we'll main hand attack with a 94% chance to hit. We actually have a Lacerate attack. But it's the same, 6 to 19. I don't care about the bleed. Okay, actually did well enough to one-hit him. Outstanding. And now we will come in here with Astarion. Astarion will be able to get right up behind her. And now he should be able to melee sneak attack her. Yep, an 88% chance to hit. And got a crit. That was the best that it could have possibly been. So, the two most dangerous people are Gimblebach. He's a barbarian type, so he can cause a lot of damage. And Taman here is a fighter type, so he can also cause a lot of damage. Now, don't underestimate Kalena, because she can cast sleep. I've got a couple of elves in my party that can't be put to sleep, but if you don't, she can put an entire party to sleep if they're all grouped together. So, but that went, like I say, about as well as it could possibly have gone. So,
let's get going.
Gale no longer needs to hide.
Any attention. Just hurry this along. I can be subtle sometimes.
Okay, and now I
Still
can
breathing,
group everybody back
despite
up.
everything.
And we have some level ups that we can do now for level 3. And this is also where the big experience point boost from killing everybody during the prologue comes from. You should not be close to level 3 right now when you go into this. However, because of all the experience that we gained by killing Captain Zalk and the 2 Cambions during the prelude or the prologue, we're much earlier on in our XP progression than we normally would be. So what we get here from level 2 to level 3 is normally a big jump for every class. And for the Druid, that's no exception. So the main thing here is that you get access to level 2 spell slots. So that's what all of these spells down here are. And there are some pretty important spells here. You also get access to another level 1 spell slot, but let's go look at our spells here and see what we want to do as far as getting a good mix of concentration and non-concentration spells. So, looking at level 2, the big thing for druids is spike growth. This is similar in an AoE type of thing like Grease or like Fog Cloud. It takes an area and helps deny it to the enemy. The difference here from Fog Cloud or Grease is that this directly causes damage, 2d4 damage, for every 1.5 meters it moves through the spikes. Now they have a radius of 6 meters. So from edge to edge, that's 12 meters across it. So if something walks all the way through the spike growth, it's going to take 2d4, and it's going to take that 2d4 4 times. That's a lot of damage to have thrown out there against an individual target. So instead of using Entangle, which keeps something from moving, Spike Growth is a good alternative. Now, Spike Growth is a concentration spell. So, again, it has to stay up and active And if you take a hit, you have to pass a concentration saving throw. And anything else that's concentration, like Fairy Fire, you can't cast it at the same time. Okay, so something to keep in mind. So now we have healing spells and Thunder Wave, which are not concentration based. So right now we've got a good mix of those. Lesser Restoration is a great spell. However, we're going to pick up a necklace that's going to help us do that. Moonbeam is kind of the druid version of Guiding Bolt. If you inspect it, it does 2d10 radiant damage. Radiant damage is like force damage. Not a lot of things save against it. The other thing about it is that once you cast it, it's concentration, and you can move it on your next turn. So you can use an action to move the beam 18 meters on your next turn. So it's like persistent damage as long as you can maintain the concentration for it. Okay. Now it does 2d10 radiant damage. Now Flaming Sphere does 2d6 fire damage, and it has basically the same thing. You can move the Flaming Sphere around on your additional turns that you use it. I think... Hey, Chad, thanks for showing up for the stream. Certainly appreciate you. So, between the two of them, I think I'm going to, Moonbeam is probably the better choice, but they're both, very, very good as far as that goes. Heat Metal is another one of the typical druid spells, and this goes into the druid lore that they hate metal. They refuse to wear it. They refuse to use weapons or use weapons made out of metal. Heat Metal, you cast it on somebody, and their metal weapon or armor is going to heat up and cause damage to them. However, the arguably more important things are that they are now disadvantaged on their attack rolls and ability checks. Disadvantage is a huge negative. Okay. Now, it's concentration based, so you have to keep that concentration up, but whoever you cast it on is going to be at a huge disadvantage when it comes to attacking characters later on. Also, if the creature is still touching the metal at the end of their turn, you can use a bonus action on your subsequent turns to deal another 2d8 fire damage, or force it to let go of the weapon or receive disadvantage again. So Heat Metal is another one of those great spells that single focuses damage on a target. So there's not a whole lot of spells that we have to do that right now. Single target damage spells. Spike Growth is AoE based. Thunder Wave is more, again, in a box out in front of you. So I think Heat Metal's going to be another spell that we're going to take here. And I'm just going to kind of rearrange these a little bit just because I'm anal retentive about this. So damage dealing, and then Fairy Fire at the end. So we have our healing, that's non-concentration. We have AoE Denial that does damage. We have AoE damage that's not concentration. Then we have 2 concentration spells plus spike. So we have an even split between concentration and non-concentration spells. So I think that's a good mix for our druid to start with here. So next we will look at Lae'zel from 2 to 3, and here we get a choice of subclass. This is really where you get to choose between your pure fighter and your fighter mage. Again, I'm not going to go into this very much. Fighters, I tend to be my main damage dealers, and the 2 things that make Lae'zel really important in this are the abilities that she has with her superiority dice. Eldritch Knight unlocks spells and cantrips, which is nice and all, but Battlemaster unlocks the superiority dice that gives you access to 3 different types of attacks. Menacing attack can possibly frighten a target. Once they're frightened, they have disadvantage on ability checks and attack rolls, and we've already talked about how important disadvantage is. Pushing attack deals damage and pushes them back, and we've seen in previous playthroughs how important the verticality is. You can use a pushing attack to deal damage and push them back instead of just using the push ability and knock them off of high places. Now the others, rally is basically getting you hit points. Riposte is a reaction, so that when they move near you, you have the ability to give a more powerful attack that deals 1d8 additional damage on top of your normal weapon attack. Trip attack knocks them prone. Not very useful. It just affects their movement speed when they get up. Disarming attack can be very useful. They have to spend their action to pick their weapon back up, so they can't attack with it afterward. I tend to rely on Rally just to be able to get some free hit points back during attacks. So that's what I'm going to keep. And then because of my Githyanki race, I get an action-based jump spell that lasts for 10 turns. So accept that, move on to Astarion. Astarion, you have basically the same type of choice. You can either add spells to Astarion, or you can concentrate on just being a thief. Now, thief is very, very important for rogues because fast hands, you now have 2 bonus actions. So you can hide and then do your dash or whatever to move around, or you can dash and get up close and then hide and then open up sneak attacks. That second bonus action is just so beneficial. Second story work just means that you gain resistance to falling damage, so if you pass a saving throw, you only take half damage from falling. So Thief is normally how I tend to go with him. It opens up so many other options with that second bonus attack.
Direct me.
And Gale, when you level him up, is going to have access to level 2 spells. So we can, again, look at what spells we have available to us. Now, Cloud of Daggers is a very important area denial spell. It's concentration, but it gives you the ability to block off an area, and anybody who walks through it is going to take some damage while they're doing it. So it's a concentration spell, so you have to manage that with your other spells, but we don't have a lot of concentration that we're going to be dealing with Gale. The other thing is Scorching Ray. It's like Magic Missile, in that there are 3 rays of fire here at level 2. However, you need an attack roll. These don't always hit. But again, when you're dealing with Evocation, your damage-dealing wizards, those are 2 very important spells to have available to him. And then we can prepare our spells. So now we don't need Fog Cloud anymore. So we have 2 regular damage dealing spells here. So now we can add in Scorching Ray. These are all non-concentration versions. Sleep is also non-concentration. Then we have Cloud of Daggers, which is a concentration spell. And then, again, I think I like... well, Mage Armor, I chose it last time as one of my spells. But I really don't want him to be in melee that often. So, Witch Bolt would give me another damage-causing spell that does concentration. So, I'll deal with the Mage Armor thing here in a little bit, because there are some options with that. Okay. So now I'm leveled up, and we can do some looting here. So gold, a short bow, and some leather armor.
Open up.
Some gold, a scroll of sleep. Gale's going to like that. Okay, and another book. That there's nothing special about that book. Okay, and now we can look at these two down here. Okay, a shovel. Shovel's very important. And last but not least, got some more thieves' tools for Astarion, which is good because we are probably going to need them. Okay. Now, looking down here, we have a backpack that we can search. Okay, we got some camp supplies. Some more thieves' tools. A dagger, nothing else that we need. We also have a burlap sack here we can search for some more camp supplies. Okay. So, nothing else down here. I don't want to go down toward that door yet. Okay, so I will search this wooden crate. Nothing there.
Have to keep going.
Move around toward the top side over here, and I will search this wooden crate. Okay, nothing else. Now, we could take the opportunity to go in through the main way through this door here, or we could jump down here through the hole that we created. We would immediately be in, or no, I guess we don't. We're not going to immediately be in combat because Taemon's dead. But this is another way to get in, is to jump down into this area. I'm actually going to move around this way. And I'm going to take this kind of slow. Okay, so that's one perception failed. So I'm going to toggle my group mode, and I'm going to move everybody one at a time. Okay, perception failed there. So Astarion is our best bet here.
Step lightly.
And he failed it. So looks like we're not going to get this one because the chance of Gale finding it is very, very small. Yep. So this is one of those deals with not having a cleric in my party and not having chosen guidance as a cantrip means that I'm going to fail some of these perception checks. So there is right here a dirt mound, but I failed all the perception checks, so I'm not going to be able to dig up that treasure chest that's there. Okay, so I'm going to make my way down here. And, of course, the Baldur's Gate 3 pathing, making everybody climb the ladder twice. And I can come down here and I can search the skeleton. Okay. Now, you can see we have a door here, and it's locked. So we can move Astarion up here, and we can attempt to lockpick this. Okay. The DC is 20. So you can see we have a total bonus of +7, so we still need to roll a 13 or higher to be able to pass this. Okay. That's definitely not going to pass. But with lockpicking, that just uses up a set of thieves' tools, and we still have 4 remaining left, so we'll try again. There you go. That passes. Okay, so now we can go ahead and enter down this way, but first I'm going to take a quick look at the inventory and just make sure our inventory is still squared away. We can kind of split these up a little better. Okay, and we do have some some wares that we can, or some camp supplies that we can send off. Okay. So now we can go ahead and head down in here just by interacting with this door. Okay, now we get an XP bonus for coming in this way, which is another reason to do it. And we can move down this way into the dank crypt. This lets us bypass all of the fighting, so to speak, to get down into the real meat of this area here. And as part of that, you can see that we have some scribes laying around on the floors. It's important when you're down here and that was part of the explanation. We are in a really dark area out here. So if you're obscured, then you can incur disadvantage on your attacks against people that are obscured. So using whatever you have to light up the area is going to be a good thing. So Gale has a firebolt spell that he can cast on these braziers that lights them up. Okay, so kind of walking around down here with Gale in the lead is going to save you some work here, but also turn on all the candles that you see, light them all up. Did I get a copy of Company of Heroes 3? I actually did. I'm kind of testing it out a little bit just to see whether or not I want to utilize that for a second live stream or not. I really do like it. I've loved all the previous ones. But yeah, we'll be making a decision about that here in the coming weeks, and then kind of watch the channel, the posts, and see if I put up a post about it. So yeah, we're going to light up all the candelabra and all the candles that are around here while we're doing our searching. You see we have a gilded chest back here in the corner. None of these are very worthwhile, but we do have some more candles. Okay, we have another brazier up here. Okay, now back here in this area, there's not a whole lot that we can do to light up any of it. So we'll move our way back out here and light this one up. And the Scroll of Burning Hands is obviously nice. Do some quick searching here. Hate that implemented bad guys as a playable fact. Oh. Yeah, true. I certainly see the availability of having different options for different types of people to play through, but yeah, I certainly get from a historical perspective, you know, exactly what you mean. Yeah, I minored in military history in college, so yeah, the Company of Heroes stuff is, and just like the previous, you know, versions of it, I love the historical aspects of it as well too. So we've got some more candles over here, and we can do some more searching. And we have a heavy key. And we'll just finish up the last of our searching down here around the corner. We have another candelabra. We can light up this brazier. And we have a gilded chest here. And again, nothing else really useful. Okay, we do have another brazier down here. Oh, did I not select the brazier? Oh, it doesn't want to light up. Okay. Not a problem. So now we can move down here to the lower level. We can search this warrior.
This must be ancient. No one worships the final scribe anymore.
Okay, and we passed our religion check. So you learn that this is a statue to Jergal. And who Jergal is, basically. Now we can head back to this corner. And search some bases. And nothing. Okay. So now we're going to come around here.
Still alive, so that's progress.
And we're going to split the group here and come up
Need to find a way forward.
one at a time. Okay, good. Perceive got the first perception check. And now we can continue on searching the vases here. Okay. So now what we're going to do is kind of pre-position our characters here for a fight. So I'm going to bring my druid up here. Going to bring Lae'zel here, and then Astarion and Gale are going to move toward the back. Disco Elysium, I'll take a look at it and see what it's like. Thanks for the recommendation. I always appreciate it when people recommend other games for me as well. So we've kind of positioned everybody here, and now we're going to
At least things have stayed interesting.
press the button here and kind of kick things off. Okay, so we rolled horribly on initiative. But most of them are quite a ways away from us, thankfully. Okay, so now it looks like everybody's gotten themselves into combat a little bit. Astarion is still hidden, so I'm going to take this opportunity to move Astarion inside here.
One sarcophagus.
Okay. So, now from here, we have, again, some options as to how we want to play this. Remember, we kind of have some area denial stuff. We have some other things like that that we can utilize, as well as our wild shape. So, I think the first thing I'm going to do, and you can see how big the area is here for spike growth. Okay. So I'm going to cast this, and you need to be cognizant of where you're standing, and you don't want to be moving. So see it, your character's now moving. You want to cast it somewhere where it's not getting you, but it's also blocking off the areas that they're going to travel through. Okay. So I think I'm going to cast that here. And now I'm going to take the opportunity to move back around the corner and kind of get out of the way a little bit for now. Okay, and with that, I'm going to end my turn. Okay, so now Lae'zel has a turn. But again, if she moves up here, she's now in the spike growth. And we don't want to do that with her. So we are going to move her back into here, knowing that Gale is next, and he'll also be able to move back into here. But while we're out here, we might as well deal some damage of some type. So let's use one of our superiority die here to possibly get a menacing attack here. It's only a 20% chance to hit because we have disadvantage, which is not good. But we might as well try anyway. There's no reason not to. So, okay, so it did miss. Doesn't really matter though, and we will move Lae'zel around the corner here and end her turn. Gale is next, and Gale can start thinking about how he wants to manage this. Now we have an opportunity here to deal with some concentration aspects. So we have an area denial here. We could back that up with another area denial right here in front and really make it hard for them to get in to attack us. Okay? And now that Cloud of Daggers is set, I can take Gale and move him all the way in here and end his turn. Okay, so now we get to see what they want to do with their turns. Do they want to move through all this damage or not? Okay, so you saw that the Entombed Warrior did want to move into this area, so I'm now going to take this opportunity to wild shape into my bear. Okay. Now, an important thing to realize, my concentration spell for spike growth remains in effect. Okay? When you're in wild shape, you still have those same opportunities to pass or not pass your concentration checks, but you don't immediately break concentration just by shifting into wild shape, which is very, very important to realize when you do these playthroughs. So what I'm going to do is move myself out here and start seeing if I can... Okay, so I did take damage from Cloud of Daggers. I thought I was still outside of it, but I was not. Okay. So I'm going to move back slightly as much as I can, and I'll end my turn there. Okay, and now Lae'zel can move out here.
My path be true.
Is she close enough? She's not close enough. So my bear's big butt getting in the way here. So all she can do is, again, ranged attacks with a fairly low chance to hit. Oh, but she did hit. So, well done. And she's not within melee range. So that will end her turn. Now Gale can pretty much end this fight here. If he can see him, if he can get in a position to see him. Actually, I can do that with Astarion instead. I think Astarion can get close enough. Yes. Where he can sneak attack ranged him. Okay, that puts him in combat, but again, doesn't really matter at this point. And now Gale can just kind of stay where he is, because I'm going to utilize my next turn to move people back into this room and start doing the sneak attack method. Okay, so I failed my concentration check, so you can see the spike growth is now gone, okay, but Cloud of Daggers is still there, right? So I've only got 5 hit points left in bear shape, but I'm gonna move myself back in here
Very well.
and try and preserve those hit points for an attack if they move in here. Okay. So in turn, and let this scribe come around. Okay, so for Lae'zel, we're now in a position where I want to start utilizing hit and run tactics, so to speak. So I can possibly cast or use a menacing attack here. 56% chance. Want to make sure I'm not moving forward into the Cloud of Daggers. Okay, and now that I've got that attack off, I can move back around the corner here.
Make way.
Okay, and end her turn. Now Gale, we're going to be doing this kind of multiple times. Move Gale into a position where he can see a target, but not in a position where he can't move back out of the way. So, can I see any of the other... I can't see any of the other targets here. So, I'm just going to make sure I kill this one. And then I can move back into the room. Okay. Now, for my druid, I'm not going to be doing anything this turn. Again, I want to preserve those hit points. And while Cloud of Daggers is still up, I want to utilize the ranged aspects that I have here. Okay, so that one moved through Cloud of Daggers, which is going to make this even easier. So I can move up here with Astarion. I can use my offhand. Okay, so I don't want to be utilizing that. I don't want to use both weapons here. Okay, well I just want a main hand attack, so... Okay, so that ends that. So now I have both of my bonus actions left. Now you can see the detection cone for this one is probably facing away. So I should be able to hide again using my first bonus action. And now I can get back out of the way, and I am now hidden and ready for my next one where I can do a sneak attack. Okay, so now we'll end our turn again. Lae'zel can move out here, get off a ranged attack with a 75% chance to hit, and then again move back inside the room. This allows you to manage the aggro here, because they are all spellcasters, so they can do some serious damage to you if you're all out there, you know, at once, kind of, so to speak, or grouped up. So this allows me to not take a bunch of damage against any single target just by being able to move my characters in and out of hiding here. Now, what's going to probably happen here is that the other one's not going to want to come down here. Okay. So now what I can probably do is kind of demonstrate how the wild shape works, and I'm just thinking. Okay, yeah, I think I'm going to do that. I think I'm going to move back out here. You can see Cloud of Daggers gets rid of my wild shape, but doesn't take any hit points off of me when it does it. That's what I had before I went in there. Okay, so now Thorn Whip is out of range. So I could cast Fairy Fire here just to illuminate him. Okay, now that's concentration based, so I can move myself back into the room and make sure that I don't get hit immediately and keep that concentration. Now Astarion is hidden. You can see the detection cone probably out here. Yes. Let me see if I can cross that corner without getting detected. I can. So I can sneak attack ranged, because now I have advantage from multiple sources. I'm attacking from shadows, I'm attacking from hiding, but he's also illuminated with Fairy Fire. So 98% chance to hit here, and it kills. Okay, so now I can go to Gale and I can remove Cloud of Daggers.
No time to rest.
Okay. A little dirtier than expected just because the Cloud of Daggers was so big. Wow, they changed the icons. I'm not sure I like these icons here, but I guess they do stand out a little more than just the standard gold ones that used to be above their heads previously.
Sorry bones guarding dusty trinkets. Pathetic. Fair enough. But you never know when you might become one yourself.
Okay. So, we already... I thought I searched all of them. They don't get more gold.
What's in here?
Let me just make sure. I might have missed those two searching them. Yeah, okay, that's what it was. I just didn't search those two over there.
Moving ahead.
Okay, so now we can go in here and we have a heavy chest. Pick up the gold. The Trap Disarm kit goes to Astarion, and we have the Amulet of Lost Voices. We can search through the vases. I don't think there's ever anything in these vases. Okay, so we will go up here and try and read the plaque.
Here lies the guardian of tombs. Through knowledge comes atonement.
Yeah, I agree, Reinmar. Those exclamation points look cartoonish. The previous ones, I think, fit in a lot better, but... So now we'll open up the sarcophagus.
So he has spoken, and so thou standest before me, right as always. What a curious way to awaken. Now, I have a question for thee. What is the worth of a single mortal's life? Curiosity. Nothing more. Wilt thou answer my question? So, I ask again, what is the worth of a single mortal life? And thus, balance is achieved. If all are at war, none can win. Very well. I am satisfied. We have met, and I know thy face. We will see each other again at the proper time and place. Farewell.
Okay, so we unlocked Withers. He will now be at our camp as we expect Withers to be, providing resurrection services. So if we didn't want to use a scroll to revive Lae'zel, we could have used Withers to do the same thing and just paid him gold to be able to do it. But he's going to make his way to our camp. And we have a couple of options on how we want to go. We can either go through this door here, or we can go through this door over here where Withers was. We're actually going to go explore this way first. Okay. So, in here, the fairly important encounter. Okay, so holding Alt, nothing to pick up. We can search this sarcophagus. Wow, there's some ringmail armor in here. Interesting. You don't find heavy armors very often.
Strange coin.
A soul coin.
Wonder what it's worth.
That gets us our first inspiration. And we have a heavy chest here. Scroll of Guiding Bolt, I will keep that. Protection from Good and Evil, I will keep that. And Silence, I will also keep. So now, we're going to move slowly over toward this area. So,
Looks like someone wanted to
okay,
bury
so
their
we've
secrets.
found the Book of Dead Gods. Now here, this is mostly intelligence based. So we're going to utilize Gale to do this.
Not a problem.
This book is far lighter than it should be with such a massive lock.
Okay, so here we have some Arcana check, a Wizard Intelligence check, and a Strength check. So here we're going to get +5 from the Arcana check with a DC of 15. So now it becomes a straight 50-50 roll. What do you know?
As the lock opens, a loose page comes with it. Magic pulses from the parchment. What was once script is now an obliterated scrawl. You have a sense these are names, a list. But of what?
Okay, so we get a +3 from our religion or intelligence for the religion check. And a DC of 10. Nat 1. Our first one of the playthrough. Okay, I know what this is, so I'm not going to use an inspiration to check it. But you certainly could.
The longer you stare at the dark and decimated words, the more your head aches. There is no meaning to be found here.
Okay, So we did get an inspiration out of that. We can also pick up the book. Okay, and we can
All's well that ends.
group
Not as
everybody
bad as it
back
could
up
have.
again, because we're now finished in here. And we can make our way up to the heavy oak doors. Now these are locked, so we're going to bring Astarion up to lockpick these. Yes, that's why you're lockpicking it, Astarion. Thank you. DC of 10. Hopefully we got all the natural ones out of our system for a while.
Is that blood? No, never mind.
Okay, so now we can come into this room here,
This place wasn't built for the living.
holding Alt and just checking around. Doing some more searching. We have another gilded chest here. Okay, and again, I'm not going to search the vases. Then over here we have a couple of opulent chests. Okay, so I'm going to keep Guiding Bolt and Scroll of Protection from Evil and Good.
Anything of use?
And always run up to it, make sure it's not trapped first. And nothing there that we need. So now we have an option for an ornate door here, or these heavy oak doors over here. Okay, and here I'm going to toggle the group, and I'm going to take Astarion in here, and I'm going to open these doors. Okay, so the reason I'm taking Astarion is because I want the highest chance that we have for perception checks.
Oh dear.
Okay.
Someone's left a trap out for us.
So we're just going to make our way around this room. Okay, failed a perception check there. And failed that one. Okay, found that pit.
Someone's left a trap out for us.
Failed that perception check.
Oh dear.
For being the one you're relying on to pass the perception checks, he's failing an awful lot of these. Okay, so he found that one. And you can see that they're all the same. So these gargoyle heads are all traps.
Oh dear. Someone's left a trap out for us.
Okay, so we'll walk around this way.
A trap. Someone doesn't like visitors. Traps.
Okay.
How considerate.
Now the important thing for him is this column right here. Okay, all the rest of this stuff is one thing.
Traps.
Found that trap, that's fine. But we want to pay attention to this column here. Okay, so we failed his perception check. Okay. So we can search these bones. You want to be very careful not to click on the sarcophagus yet. Okay.
What to do?
So now we will just bring
Then through.
our other party members in here one at a time. Okay, so both of those are successful. So she found the button. So there are two ways to play this here. The first is you can take all of these vents and you can cover them up with items. Meaning that I can take Astarion here and I can come over here and I can take this vase and I can pick it up and I can... Well, I'm not close enough. Okay. Cooperate, Astarion. Okay, I don't know why he's not able to pick them up. He should be able to.
Let's go.
Let me see if I can do it with these boxes. Yes. Okay, so we can do it with the boxes. So you can pick these up and you can just drag them. And you can put them on top of the vents. The vents are covered up. They can't release the gas. So then you will still have to deal with these gargoyle heads shooting fire at you. But they won't release the gas, which is going to blow up this entire place. Okay. The other option is simply to hit this button after you have triggered the trap. And you'll see that here when we open this up. Okay, so we're going to open this up. We're going to leave Astarion there closest as he can get to the button. And we're going to open the sarcophagus and just quickly take all. Now this forces you into turn-based mode. And it becomes your turn. So if during your turn you can go over and interact with this button. Okay. You can see all of the stuff on the ground disappeared and it disables the trap. So now if I leave turn-based mode, I'm back to normal and nothing happened. If you don't trigger the button, then the grease from those vents stays on the ground, and then when the gargoyle heads fire, it makes a huge explosion throughout this entire area. Things get really bad really fast. Okay? So it's always easier just to get somebody to hopefully find the button and shut off the trap. But if nobody finds the button, cover up all of the vents with boxes, with candelabras that are sitting around here, and you can keep the grease from coming out, and then all you have to do is avoid the firebolts. So here this door is locked, but the heavy key that we picked up is what unlocks it. Okay, now we're not done in here. So we're going to take everybody back.
I'll give it a shot.
Don't touch me.
No one back home.
And
will
we
ever
can now
believe
group
this.
everybody back up.
Very well.
And we can get ready to move through this door. Now, we still have one wild shape charge left. Gale is still doing, he's got half of his spells left, and I still have quite a few of my spells left. So I think we're okay continuing on without taking a rest. So because of that, I'm actually going to try and get some of my hit points back by using one of my spell slots here on myself. Okay, so got 7 hit points back. That was good, and now I can take a potion of healing. That gets me close enough. And now Lae'zel can use a bonus action here to cast Rally. Oh, I don't know why she can't target herself with that. Oh, because Rally's not for her. It's Second Wind that's for her. And she can get it back. And then Rally is for somebody else. Okay.
Let's get going.
Alright, so with that, we're going to make sure that we save, and we'll give it a new save as opposed to a quick save. And I think what we're going to do is pick up from that point coming up next week. Be sure to look through the pay attention to the community tab this week. If I do start up a new live stream for Company of Heroes, I will announce it this week and then probably start it next week. So everyone has time to kind of get it into their schedules and see if they want to come in for that. Now, the thing about a second live stream is that I'm probably going to have to do it during the week, which means that I won't be able to start it until really early in the morning for most of my European viewers, which is going to put viewership out of the range of some of the viewers, because if I can't start it until 6, that means it's not starting until 1 or later on in the series 2 in the morning. So if I can manage to do a second live stream on a Saturday, then I will think about that. I have a lot of commitments for my Saturdays, so it's kind of hard for me to do. But if I want to put those things aside and do a second live stream, I'll see if I can arrange it for a Saturday. But either way, I'll come up with a time and a date that I know I'm best able to work around. And I'll post that in the community tab this week, and then we can get feedback on it. So if people have any questions or concerns about it, or they want to give their own opportunities for giving me feedback on the time and date, then they certainly can. So, but we won't do it this week. We'll just kind of plan it this week, and then if I am able to plan for one, then we'll kind of initiate it next week. So, I think... So, Reinmar, any other questions or anything before I leave? This would be the last chance for it, but I think sitting here on this side of the door is probably a good place to end the live stream today. I will go through the rest of this and leave here and go do the looting and all that sort of stuff and come right back to the same exact location. And overwrite this save so we can start from here with having the benefit of gone through all of the looting outside, so we can kind of bring ourselves back to where we were before the crash and my lack of saving happened. And hopefully I'll get a little better at that, so we don't have to keep going through any of that on the live stream. So with that, I'd like to thank everyone for joining me today. Without your support, as always, none of this would be possible. So this is Commander Jorval saying, until next time, fare thee well.